Okay guys, we're going to look at the next problem from section 1.4. This is number 17. And this one asks exactly the same question. He wants us to solve this by using the zero factor property. Okay, so let me write the equation. It's negative 4x squared plus x equals to negative 3. Okay, so again, the reason why we call this zero factor property, because to use it you have to have 0 on one side. Okay, so now again you have two options. You can move the negative 3 over, get the 0, or you can move these two terms over and get the 0 on the left hand side. Now why would you want to do that in this case? Well, it's always easier to factor when the leading coefficient, the number in front of the leading term, is a positive versus negative. Of course you could factor it like this, but it may be a little bit tougher. Okay, so my suggestion is take these two terms to the right. Don't forget, as you move them, change the sign. So the negative 4x squared, of course, is going to go become positive. Positive x going to go to the right, become negative x. Now negative 3 was already there on the right, so that's going to remain the same. So now we have the 0. Okay, so again, as I said in the last video, it doesn't matter which side you have your 0, left or right. In this case, it was more beneficial to go ahead and get our 0 on the left. Now we're going to factor. This is going to be also trial and error because the coefficient is not 1. Usually if this is 1, you don't need the trial and error. It's a little quicker, but when this is not 1, you have to go through different method. Again, the one I use is called trial and error. Anyway, so we're going to try. So there are two options here. You can either have 4x and x, or you can also have 2x and 2x, right, to achieve 4x squared. So I'm going to go ahead and try 4x and x, but again, if this combination doesn't work, don't forget we still have the option of 2x and 2x, because 2x times 2x also gives you 4x squared. Anyway, so now we're going to, now here again, the good news is to get negative 3, remember the product of these two numbers must always be your constant term. In this case, that's negative 3. And again, there's only two choices, basically 1 and 3. So we're going to go ahead and put the minus 1 here and a plus 3. Now, if this works, we're done. If it doesn't, then we can go again, put the 3 over here and the 1 over here. Or if that doesn't work, we can put 2x and 2x instead of 4x. So that's why the method is called trial and errors, okay? But once you get the right middle term, don't forget the middle term is always your, what I call maker or breaker. So, and how do we get the middle term? Remember the product of the outside plus product of the inside, right? So 4x times negative 1, that's negative 4x. 3 times x, that's 3x. As you add them up, negative 4 plus 3 become negative 1, or just negative x. And notice this time you actually got very lucky. The very first trial, we got the right middle term, right? Our middle term is negative x. And now sometimes, as you saw before, it takes a couple of trials. Sometimes you have to do 5, 6, 7 trials to achieve the right factor. But anyway, we're not going to give you real ugly numbers, but basically that's the idea. So now we have the right factor. Now we're going to use the zero factor property again. Product of two factor is 0. So 1 has to be 0. So we're going to set the first factor equal to 0. Again, doesn't matter which side you put your 0, left or right. Or you're going to put the second factor equal to 0. Again, to isolate the x, we're going to subtract 3 first to remove the 3. So that becomes 4x equal to negative 3. And then remove the 4 by division. So there it is. There's your first solution. X equals to negative 3/4. Okay, let me go ahead and box that one before we get the last one. So there's your first solution, negative 3/4. Let me move this cup a little bit. And then, of course, this one, as you add 1 to remove the negative 1, that gives you basically x equals to 1, which is your second and the last solution. Okay? All right, I hope that helps.